This is Transportation Secretary Tim Gatz. This meeting of the Oklahoma Transportation Commission is being conducted by video conference and all commissioners are attending remotely. The time is now 11:03 a.m. and all commissioners are now logged into the video conference. The public access will be monitored by ODOT to ensure that if the audio connection is lost or interrupted, the meeting will be stopped until the connection is restored. If the audio connection is not restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be deemed adjourned at the time the connection was lost and shall be reconvened at 1:30 p.m. today. If an audio connection cannot be restored at the time scheduled to reconvene, the meeting shall be reconvened on the next business day at 9 a.m. and thereafter on the next business day at 9 a.m. until an audio connection is restored. Mr. Chairman, we are ready to begin.
Thank you, Tim. I hereby call this meeting to order and ask if everyone would please mute your microphone. I have just a few instructions that have been given. Please put your microphones on mute until you're ready to speak. Only members of the commission and the presenters on the agenda will be recognized to speak. Remember to announce your name before speaking each time so we can keep accurate minutes for the record. Please direct your questions, comments, and motions to the chair, and I will recognize you. Roll call votes will be conducted with the commission secretary reading off the commissioner's name. Commissioners, please state your name when you vote. The secretary will call the roll at this time.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley here.
Mr. Freimiller,
Freimiller here.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon here.
Mr. McCown,
Cowan here.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson here.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander here.
Mr. LaForge, Mr. LaForge,
LaForge here.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson here.
At this time, Secretary Gatz, you're recognized for announcements and presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I would like to call on Chief Engineer Brian Taylor to make an introduction, an announcement. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I wanted to let you know that we lost Darren Saliba as our Director of Operations, but we've gained a new person, and that person is Sean Davis. Sean Davis comes to us with 28 years of previous Oklahoma Department of Transportation experience in a wide range of different areas, and he made the most of every opportunity at those locations. Over the past couple of years, he's been the Director of Construction at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, working on the $1.2 billion Driving Forward program. We want to thank Sean and certainly let you know that senior staff, he has our complete support, and we're really happy that he's joined the team. And please help us welcome Mr. Sean Davis.
Welcome to our team. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman McCown. It's an honor and privilege to be with you guys today. It's great to be home at ODOT, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Chief Taylor and Secretary Director Gatz for giving me this opportunity. I'm looking forward to working with you all, and hopefully one of these days when we're out of this virtual world, I can shake your hands and get to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Chairman, if I might proceed to the next award. The Department of Transportation, in conjunction with some really important partners, has received a award from the AASHTO, the Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, and it is related to the best use of technology and innovation, a small project. And the award was issued as part of America's Transportation Awards competition. And it was for the State Highway 33 corridor that's between Kingfisher and Watonga. And it was a safety project. And certainly that corridor has carried a significant amount of energy related traffic. And as a result, we had some challenging conditions out there with accidents and quite frankly, some traffic volumes that the facility wasn't quite equipped to handle. With the help of some partners, we put together a program to go out and try to address this. And at this time, I'd like to recognize a couple of people that were instrumental in making this happen. One is my chairman, Representative Mike Sanders, who has been a tremendous transportation supporter for not only his district, but for the state of Oklahoma, and has been a champion of ours consistently across his career in the legislature. And also Mr. Tom Robbins. And at this point, Mr. Chairman, I would like to recognize Mr. Robbins and Representative Sanders to make a few comments.
Thank you, Secretary Gatz. My name is Tom Robbins, the founder and president of the Energize for Safety Coalition. We're a nonprofit, and our mission is in Oklahoma communities where energy is produced and transported. We want to work in partnership to drive safety together. And we got together with ODOT, with Secretary Gatz, and Chief Engineer Brian Taylor, with Chad Penley, with Terry and others. And we decided that one person couldn't do it all alone, and that we needed to have industry at the table with law enforcement and ODOT. And because of that collaboration, that can-do attitude that's at ODOT, we put together and pioneered a new method for energy traffic and safety around education, engagement, enforcement, and engineering, so that ODOT and engineering just wouldn't be there by themselves, but would be backed up by that education, engineering, and engagement piece. Because of that, there's been a 46% reduction in crashes on Highway 33. So I know a lot will be done here. There's some historic contracts that'll be talked about. There's great work that ODOT's going to be doing as commissioners. You guys will continue to find excellent tradition here at ODOT. But I just want to pause and reiterate, because of the work that ODOT did of the division and senior leadership, right down to the guys who posted those signs, there are people that are at home with their families, their students that are safe and well, and there's community members in the public that are traveling safety on that road, and we know that for a fact. So thank you for your leadership, and appreciate the opportunity to partner with you on driving safety together. Representative Sanders.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. You know, it's kind of sad that this technology thing, my 9 and 11-year-old can run circles around me. So I appreciate just a few minutes. And Tom, you nailed it right on the head. This is what public-private partnership should look like. And it's been my honor to work with Tom and his vision, but also work with the Department of Transportation. And obviously the number one priority for ODOT is safety. And this is a prime example. I'm very excited that one, personally, this is in my district, but two, what this could mean for the rest of the state and other corridors that ODOT oversees. So I'm tickled pink that we were able to receive this. And again, from the top to the bottom, Mr. Secretary, good to see you. And thank you for your leadership on this, as well as everyone from the top to the bottom. Just tremendous team effort. And I just appreciate the opportunity being here this morning. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Representative Sanders. And it's certainly a pleasure to have you with us this morning. And thank you for not only this effort on this safety corridor, but for everything that you've done for transportation across your term in legislature. So we very much appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been my honor.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I would turn the meeting over to you to proceed.
Thank you. I would also like to second Tim's remarks in behalf of the commission, let you know how much we appreciate changing that kind of a hazard into a major success. Appreciate the hard work for both of you. At this time, we'll go to item number 106, approval of minutes of the previous Transportation Committee meeting. And that was August 3rd, 2020. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make a motion. Dyson?
Second by
Shannon.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, Peterson, second.
Any discussion? The Secretary will call the roll, please.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
McCowen, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander, Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Motion approved. We'll move to the consent docket. It includes item number 107, 108, 19, 110, and 11. These items were discussed in detail in committee meetings. If any commissioners would like to pull an individual item out for discussion, he may do so at this time. Otherwise, do I hear a motion for approval of the consent docket?
Coburn, I move for approval of the consent docket.
Do I have a second?
Peterson, second.
The secretary will call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
McCowen, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Motion approved. We'll move to item number 112. It's
Yep. Good.
programming items. Mr. Tigler, you're recognized to present.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item 112, I have one programming item this month. It's in Commission District 2. The department requests approval to program a project to repair vehicle impact damage to Red Bud Lane over US 69. The estimated cost of this project is $70,000, and the project can be ready for a November 2020 letting. The party responsible for the damage is known. Approval is recommended, and I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval?
Peterson, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second by Shannon.
There any discussions? Secretary will call the roll, please.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
Allen, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Mr. Tigler, you may continue with item number 113, engineering contracts.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Tim Tegler again, Director of Engineering. Item 113, engineering contracts. I have 12 parts this month. Part A is a statewide all-district on-demand NESHAP investigation and analysis. We have selected Intercon Services, Environmental Hazard Control Lab, and Terracon Consultants. Aggregate not to exceed amount for these three contracts is $450,000. Part B, statewide all districts are on-demand engineering services for strategic assets and performance management. This is with Garver, HNTB, and High Street Consulting Group. Aggregate not to exceed amount for these three contracts is $750,000. Part C is McIntosh County, Commission District 1. This is for construction plans for US 69B with H.W. Lochner. Total not to exceed amount is $271,200. Part D in Wagner County, Commission District 1. This is preliminary engineering and construction plans for State Highway 51 with Poe and Associates. Total not to exceed amount is $705,900. Part E is Pushmataha County, Commission District 2, construction plans for State Highway 3. This is a 16-mile project. This is with EST. Total not to exceed amount is $2,341,548.49. Part F is in Garvin County, Commission District 3. This is construction plans for State Highway 29 with Smith Roberts Baldishweiler. Total not to exceed amount is $828,275. Part G in Beckham County. This is Commission District 5. Construction plans for I-40. This is the eastbound lanes only. It's about 5 miles. This is with Atkins North America. Total not to exceed amount is $942,680. Part H in Texas County, Commission District 6. Construction plans for US 64 in Guyman. This is with Smith Roberts Baldishweiler. Total not to exceed amount is $542,500. Part I, Woods County, Commission District 6. Construction plans for US 64 east of Alva. This is with MKEC Engineering Consultants. Total not to exceed amount is $479,900. Part J, Harper County, Commission District 6. These are construction plans for US 183. This is a 4.5 mile project with Tetra Tech. Total not to exceed amount is $700,400. Part K in Washington County, Commission District 8. This is construction plans for US 60, 3.75 mile project with Craig and Keith Line. Total not to exceed amount is $1,105,991. And finally, Part L, this is Tulsa County Commission District 8, construction plans for US 64 and US 169 with Garver. Total not to exceed amount is $853,848. All these project specifics from D through L are in the 8-year construction work plan. Approval is recommended, and I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion by Dyson.
Do I hear a second?
Second by Frymiller.
Any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowan,
Allen, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Mr. Figler, you may continue with item number 14, engineering contract supplements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is item 114. This is Tim Tegler again, Director of Engineering. Part A is statewide all districts off-system bridge inspection with Circuit Engineering District number 7. Supplement not to exceed amount is $3,000. Part B is statewide all districts are on-demand airborne LiDAR mapping with Bearing Tree land surveying. Supplement not to exceed amount is $500,000. Part C is a statewide all districts are on-demand environmental services for our local government projects. This is with Able Consulting, CC Environmental, CH Guernsey and Company, CP&Y, Cox McLean Environmental Consulting, Garver, Kleinfelder, and Olson Associates. Total aggregate increase for these contract supplements is $1,600,000. Part D is Logan County Commission District 4. These are for final design plans for State Highway 105 with EST. The supplement not to exceed amount is $49,577. And finally, Part E in Tulsa County. These are construction plans for I-44 and US 75 interchange with Benham Design. Supplement not to exceed amount is $675,545. Approval is recommended. Try to answer any questions if you have any.
You've heard the presentation. Do I hear a motion for approval of item 114?
So move Shannon.
Do I hear a second?
Grimsley, second.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Brian Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
Cowan, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Item number 115, change orders with cumulative totals of $75,000 or less. Mr. Leonard, you're recognized to present.
Yes, this is John Leonard, ODOT State Construction Engineer. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Secretary. I would like to present item 115, parts A through W. These are the change orders on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders of $75,000 or less. This item is presented for information only and no action is necessary, but I'd be glad to try and answer any questions.
Change orders were discussed in detail in our committee meeting. If there's no other questions, Mr. Leonard, you're recognized to present item number 116, change orders with cumulative total greater than $75,000.
Yes, this is John Leonard again. I'd like to present item 116, parts A through double C. These are change orders on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders greater than $75,000. Your approval is recommended, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of items number 116?
LaForge, I move item number 116 be approved.
Peterson,
Coburn,
second.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Brian Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
Cowan, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Thank you.
Item number 117, the proposed bid openings. Mr. Hackney, you're recognized to present. Please state your name.
This is Robert Hackney, Project Funding Manager. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item 117, proposed bid openings, consists of the final November 2020 and the tentative January 2021 proposed bid openings. The department recommends approval.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 117?
Peterson, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Brian Miller, second.
Any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Brian Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowen,
Cowan, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Item to be presented by Strategic Asset and Performance Management Division, Engineer Mr. Swift.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Matthew Swift with the Strategic Asset and Performance Management. ODOT, in collaboration with statewide modal stakeholders, has completed the 2020 through 2045 Long-Range Transportation Plan. This federally required plan establishes transportation policies and priorities for the next 25 years for various modes of travel and commercial freight movement in the state, including highways, passenger and freight rail, public transit, active transportation, ports and waterways, and airport access. The long-range transportation plan does not focus on specific projects like ODOT's 8-year construction work plan, but rather guides ODOT in the development, management, and operation of a safe and efficient transportation system for the next 25 years. Public involvement and stakeholder outreach were vital in developing the long-range transportation plan. During the planning process, input was gathered from across Oklahoma, from the general public, as well as representatives of different modes of transportation, planning partners, businesses, highway patrol, and resource agencies to understand their transportation priorities and needs. Some highlights of the stakeholder involvement include a database with over 2,500 contacts that was used to communicate and solicit input. The first of 4 advisory committee meetings was held in June 2019, and the committee was made up of a diverse group of members, including metropolitan planning organizations, regional transportation planning organizations, urban and rural transit providers, tribal representatives, transportation mode representatives, chambers of commerce staff, federal, state, and local elected officials, interested members of the general public, as well as ODOT staff. In June 2019, there was an online survey asking the citizens of Oklahoma what was important to them from a transportation perspective. We received comments from 3,800 individuals from almost every Oklahoma county. In June 2020, the draft long-range transportation plan was released for comment, as well as another online public survey, and we received more than 1,000 comments from that. All of this stakeholder feedback was incorporated into the long-range transportation plan, and the full plan, as well as the executive summary, is available at www.oklongrangeplan.org. Oklahoma's multimodal transportation system assets are the state's largest capital investment, and the long-range transportation plan will help prepare ODOT and other modal agencies to plan, manage, and operate a 21st century transportation system for all Oklahomans. Following this presentation, the long-range transportation plan will be forwarded to the Federal Highway Administration as well as the Federal Transit Administration. No commission action is required for this item, but I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
There's no commission action required on this. Do any commissioners have a question or any comments? No votes required. So we'll move on to items to be presented by the office engineer, Mr. Dels.
Good morning, Chairman.
119 is yours.
Thank you, sir. This is Anthony Dels, Office Engineer Division. Good morning. Item 119 are recommendations from the August 20th bid opening. It is recommended that the following items from that bid opening referred to by call order be awarded. That's call orders 410, 420, 425, 430, 435, 440, 450, 470, 480, 510, 520, 530, 540, 570, 575 with the add alternate, 600, and 605. It is recommended that the following items from the August 20th bid opening referred to by call order be rejected. That's call orders 560 and 590. This concludes the recommendations for award, and your approval is requested.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 119?
LaFord,
Move approval.
LaFord, second.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Fry Miller,
Fry Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowan,
Allen, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaFord, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Number 120 is the director's report by Secretary Gatz. You recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The governor is going to join us momentarily, and we will have a short video and then have some remarks from him related to our recent acknowledgement that Oklahoma is in the top 10 for structurally deficient bridge infrastructure being repaired. And again, when our current ranking was announced recently, we're number 9 in the country. And number 9 doesn't seem that significant until you have a complete understanding that we achieved a number 9 ranking up from number 49 in 2004. And when you look back across that time period, you see that nearly 20% of our bridges on the highway system in Oklahoma in 2004 were structurally deficient, a full 1,168 bridges. The infrastructure on the highway system in Oklahoma was at a state where we were nearing a potential catastrophic bridge failure at some point, and it desperately needed investment. thanks to the leadership at the department at the time, the legislature at the time, and certainly the governors have all participated. New funding mechanisms were put in place and made available, and the department began to chip away at those numbers with a focus on making sure that our bridge infrastructure was progressively getting better. And as you gentlemen know, there's no instant gratification in managing infrastructure. It takes years and years of commitment and investment to be able to improve those conditions. We've had that, we've stayed the course. And in the years since, unfortunately, drivers in every area of the state have had to deal with orange barrels and work zones. We thank them for their patience as we've made progress, but it's been an unprecedented climb for us from the bottom of the federal ranking to the top. And our counterparts in other states have certainly taken notice of our accomplishments. Every governor and legislative leadership has stayed committed to improving our transportation infrastructure, and the benefits of that are evident. We've got with us this morning Chairman Avery Fricks and Chairman Todd Russ, and we'll hear some comments from them as we make some progress here through the meeting. But again, I can't tell you how all of the partners we've got in the legislature have been supportive and have continued to help us make progress over what really is a 20-year period. I want to emphasize that we're going to do our best this morning to celebrate this accomplishment and recognize specifically some folks that have been a very important part of it. But I know that we're going to miss somebody. I apologize for that up front. But again, we'll have the governor join us here in just a minute. And if we might, let's go ahead and start the video.
Damaged and dangerous. That's what officials are saying about some of Oklahoma's bridges.
Corrodes so bad it comes off in flakes, and you don't have to have a shovel. If you have a shovel or a screwdriver, you can pull it off with your fingers.
Oklahomans certainly deserve better roads and bridges.
If we don't make the necessary repairs and make these bridges safe, we're going to have a lot of accidents and fatalities.
53-year-old Ivana Osborne was killed by falling debris along I-35. That same week, concrete crumbled under I-244 in Tulsa.
We are announcing a solution to the problem, and the solution is called Bridge Improvement and Turnpike Modernization Plan.
We were falling dangerously behind that would be difficult, if almost impossible, to recover. That we were getting to a point as an unmanageable state on our transportation system, and especially our bridges.
Whether it was the House, the Senate,
all the governors so far, every one of them, hand in hand, really agreed to put more priority on transportation investment.
Oklahoma now leads the nation in bridge replacements and rehabilitations.
Completion of this new bridge is another big step towards our state's goal of having less than 1% of highway bridges rated structurally deficient by the end of the decade, which will absolutely move the needle for Oklahoma and bring Oklahoma into the top 10 in the country for bridge condition.
I'm excited to direct your attention to the board as we announce the new rankings by the Federal Highway Administration for inspections through the end of 2019. Oklahoma has just landed number 9 in the country. This is a major win for our state and a testament to the leadership from Secretary Gatz and his team at ODOT.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to recognize our governor, Kevin Stitt. Bear with us for just a
He
minute.
gave me a tour of the I-44 and the 235 interchange and all the work that they're doing there. And it's quite impressive and another great testament to what you guys are doing. But over the course of my time as governor, you've heard me say over and over again that Oklahoma can and should be a top 10 state. And for me, this isn't just a slogan, it's the vision that helps form and guide our roadmap to improving state government and changing the future for all 4 million Oklahomans. You know, a few weeks ago, I was thrilled to join Secretary Gatz and other state leaders in announcing a major goal was achieved by our team at the Department of Transportation that moved us into top 10 in a critical category. And you saw it on that video. Addressing structurally deficient bridges has been a huge focus for our state. Oklahoma has historically been at the bottom of nationwide rankings for the quality of our bridges, but we've spent over a decade reversing that course in order to get to the top 10 on that list. So that's just fantastic. I'm so proud to say Oklahoma now is number 9 in the entire country for the quality of our bridges. It's a major win for our state and a testament to the leadership from you, Secretary Gatz, from all the commissioners on this phone call, from the whole team at ODOT, our legislators, and so many Oklahomans who came before us to make this goal a reality. To put this in perspective, back in 2004, we saw that video of Governor Fallin there, but in 2004, there were 1,168 structurally deficient highway bridges, and now there are currently 86. With plans, obviously, to address each one of them as well. The vision and leadership shown by Secretary Gatz and his predecessors to focus on making our bridges some of the best in the nation in such a short time frame is really remarkable. Oklahomans really can be proud to see that when they see those work zones, they see their tax dollars have paid off and helped make us a national leader in bridge safety on our state highway systems. Having a strong and safe transportation infrastructure keeps businesses running and it attracts new ones. It's so important for economic development and commerce. It makes our state, a state that visitors want to come drive to, not drive by. and it keeps our communities connected. This marks one of the first of our large-scale state initiatives really to get into the top 10 nationally. And I hope this momentum keeps up as we continue to show the nation and the world that Oklahoma is a significant contender for business and commerce. So in closing, just want to thank the commissioners. I know you all put a lot of time and effort, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing to help guide and shape ODOT and our infrastructure needs into the future. You're making a huge impact for our children and grandchildren and for the next generation. And so I'm so thankful that you are locking arms with ODOT to improve transportation and infrastructure across our state. And I'm a phone call away, and it's a huge initiative of mine. I think it's a core part of state government, and something that I'm focused on is continuing to be top 10 in everything related to infrastructure. So thanks for letting me join you guys this morning. And I'm going to continue to work with our state House and Senate members. And I know they are passionate as well about being top in infrastructure. So turning it back over to you, Commissioner. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. Chairman, if I might, we would like to return back to the video. We've got a scroll that's going to recognize some folks that played a role in delivering this program. And I'll take just a couple of minutes here and visit about a few of them while that scroll is playing. You know, you saw and heard from Secretary Neil McCaleb, and he was certainly an important part of getting our focus onto structurally deficient bridges. But we've got other secretaries like Phil Tomlinson, who really called attention to the need and basically asked us a question: why aren't you doing something about it? Followed by Secretary of Transportation Gary Ridley, who is on with us and we're going to hear from shortly, and Secretary of Transportation Mike Patterson, who picked that mantle up and carried it forward. And we've had gubernatorial support from Brad Henry and Mary Fallon, and now our Governor Kevin Stitt, who is passionate about infrastructure. And if you look at the Senate, leadership like Brian Bingman and Mike Schultz and Greg Treat today are continuing that focus. Speakers of the House, guys like Todd Hyatt, Chris Benge, our own Commissioner T.W. Shannon during his time in the legislature, Speaker of the House Jeff Hickman, and now Charles McCall, who is a tremendous supporter of investment in infrastructure for the betterment of the state. And our Transportation Committee chairs, and again, we've got Chairman Avery Fricks, who we're going to hear from shortly, and Chairman Todd Russ, Rob Standrich, and Gary Stanislawski in the Senate, who are tremendously supportive of infrastructure investment and what we're trying to accomplish. And really where it all started with House Bill 1078 and House Bill 1176, and guys like Mark Leota and Jim Newport, who were willing to pick up that legislation with a focus specifically on investment in infrastructure and carry it forward for us. And our partners at the Federal Highway Administration. None of this is possible without the federal funding and the assistance that they provide to us in delivering these really critical projects. And I want to acknowledge all of the Oklahoma congressional delegation during the time period that we've had a focus on bridge infrastructure. But I specifically want to recognize Senator Jim Inhofe. He is our infrastructure champion in Washington, D.C. like no other. Senator Inhofe, in his role in Washington, has been instrumental in bringing dollars back to the state of Oklahoma to make sure that we could improve our infrastructure and accomplish this top 10 ranking. He's done so much for us, to the point that I know of no other individual who has been a stronger supporter for infrastructure in the state of Oklahoma at the federal level than Senator Inhofe. Our current transportation commissioners, thank you for your support every day, and our former commissioners who helped us move projects and stay focused on this program in the past. And industry advocates like Trust, under the leadership of Secretary Neil McCaleb, and certainly Jamie Longacre and her efforts to make sure that the state stays focused and understands and trust is transportation revenue used strictly for transportation. And AGC and their efforts with Bobby Stem and all of the consultants and contractors that have been a part of this and all of the agency's staff, our current executive staff and our previous executive staff, guys like Gary Evans, chief engineer, John Fuller, who you saw in the video, Casey Shell and David Streb, Paul Green and Russell Hewlin and Darren Saliba, recently retired. Folks that really, again, shouldered the burden and helped us achieve this. Specifically in our bridge division, Steve Jacoby and the efforts that he and his group, Walt Peters and Wes Kellogg and Tony Sutton, who are really the three guys that handle our bridge inspection program. They take care of the data that's generated from that program. They help us put together the information to get submitted that's necessary for federal highways to provide us with an understanding of where we are across the nation as far as a ranking is concerned. And our division engineers who have, without hesitation, picked up the structurally deficient bridge mantle, stayed focused on it. Chris Wallace, Darren Saliba before him in Division 1, Anthony Kelly in Division 2, Calvin Carney and David Smith, guys like Ron Brown, current Division 3 engineer, Paul Rachel and Kevin Bloss, Trent January, Brent Almquist, Ron McDaniel, and Robert Ward before Ron, Jay Earp and Bob Rose in Division 7, and in Division 8, Randall White and Ed Kellogg. All of those folks helped us move this needle and helped us keep this going forward. Mr. Chairman, at this point, if we have Mr. Secretary Gary Ridley online with us, I'd like to recognize him at this time to make a few comments.
Thank you, Secretary Gatz. Members of the commission, Mr. Chairman. I think congratulations is difficult to give to all the people that touch this issue. When you look at the companies, the Oklahoma companies, whether they're engineering companies or construction companies that created the jobs, that built these bridges, designed these bridges, and the members, men and women of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, whether they're a chairman of the commission or they're someone that was a drafts person that was hired just a few days ago. They're all part of this and they ought to all feel good. But you know, Tim, without the confidence that the people of Oklahoma, the taxpayers, the ones that footed the bill, we would have never been able to do any of this. They gave their trust to the Department of Transportation that they would spend their money wisely, and wisely you did. It is a great day, certainly, to get to this point. And Speaker Shannon, who's sitting up around the horseshoe, he has been there from start to finish, both as a member of the legislature to raise his hand and stand up to vote for additional funding for transportation, to now in a position to approve the projects that those monies can allow us to do, or allow you all to do. But again, the people of Oklahoma certainly are the ones to be congratulated for them to give their trust in us. And Tim, you'll always miss somebody, and you can't help it because you always will. But you know, Bruce Taylor was really our mentor, yours and mine both, and certainly big enough to carry a big stick with us, or he really didn't need a stick, I guess, a big Z was. But he certainly kept us straight and on the straight and narrow to accomplish a lot of the things that we have today. So I want to say something about Bruce. Again, congratulations. I don't know of any better term to say than congratulations and well done. Well done, guys.
Thank you, Secretary Ridley, and thank you for joining us this morning. It's a real honor to have you with us. And I got to tell you, your acknowledgement of Bruce Taylor, he definitely set the tone and kept us focused. And we really appreciate his engagement and involvement. And to your point, all 4 million Oklahomans need to feel like they're a part of this. Because again, this is something that is not easily accomplished, and it's a goal that we set and achieved, and it took everybody playing their role and being a part of it to make it happen, and we all need to be proud of it. At this point, I'd like to recognize our chairman of transportation in the House, Chairman Avery Fricks. Chairman Fricks is an advocate for infrastructure. He and his family have played a tremendous role in improving Oklahoma's infrastructure across time. And Chairman Fricks, we're so honored to have you with us today. Certainly love to hear a few words from you.
Thank you, Secretary Gatz, for having me on this morning. You know, I just want to remember a time on May 26, 2002, right here in Muskogee County, which is the district I represent. We had about 14 fatalities when the I-40 bridge collapsed. That was a sad day in Oklahoma's history. But it's great to be here in 2020 talking about how we have changed that direction entirely. And that wouldn't have been possible without partnerships. And these partnerships were between our secretaries at the Department of Transportation, our Highway Commission, our contractors, the legislature, and the governor. And I think it's a true testament of when we all work together, when we're all on the same page, what we can accomplish. And I just look forward to the next 10 years going forward about what we can accomplish if we continue to work together. So on behalf of the House of Representatives, I just want to say thank you all for your partnership. Thank you to former Secretary Ridley and Secretary Gatz for all of your help and support. And I look forward to continuing that working relationship going forward. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chairman Fricks. We really appreciate you joining us this morning for our celebration. And at this point, I would recognize Subcommittee for Appropriations Chairman Todd Russ. Chairman Russ.
Thank you, Secretary Gatz, and all the members and commissioners. Good to be here, and you guys have done an excellent job kind of giving us a timeline on kind of where transportation was and where it came from. And I want to point out something for the people that are listening today. You have to realize that we've actually passed what I would call the generational timeline for the transformation in transportation for Oklahoma. If you go back to, you mentioned Secretary Gatz in 2004, how dire things were. In 2006, the changes started to happen. And by 2007 and 2008, it really took off. And you mentioned the trust organization. And I will tell you, as a freshman legislature and starting out in the campaign process back in 2006, they were one of the top organizations that I got to know, and their priorities were my priorities, and that was transportation. And I like their acronym. You said it real well, Secretary. It's what the trust actually stands for, and that's transportation revenue used strictly for transportation, and that completely makes sense. But those people have been grinding the wheel for about 25 years, and most of the members of the legislature, actually probably every single member now, are not a part of that generational timeline when we seen that transition over to that 8-year plan. And it was really significant. I just got a couple of numbers here I want to throw out to everybody so they'll understand. But in 2006, the state's dollars that went into transportation, and this is all the dollars, was about $260 million. If you go down 10 years from that, that jumped up to $718 million. So you can see the momentum that group and the legislature and the leadership that came in, and Commissioner Shannon was also a part of that. And there was a lot of dips in the cycle economically that we went through, but we fought, you might say, with our lives politically to maintain that 8-year plan and the funding for that. And I think the numbers show that. If you look at the 2020 total state dollars that will go into transportation, $905 million just in our part, compared to the 200-ish million back in 2004 to 2006. And I always comment, and I actually quote T.W. Shannon. He says, "Don't tell me, show me." And I think these dollars that we've committed to transportation in the state of Oklahoma have definitely done that. As the appropriation chairman for transportation, I will tell you the political lingo for it is we appropriate money for you. But as the chairman in the back room, it's really a lot of arm twisting, nagging, just begging for money to keep that plan in place some years. When I know when I came in, we were down about $800 million my first year in the legislature. And it became pretty clear, no matter what, we were going to keep that 8-year plan in place. And we worked hard to do that. And you can have a lot of great ideas, but if you don't have the money to do something, to do those things, they just won't happen. And I will commit to you and the commissioners that as long as I'm the chairman of appropriations, I will be advocating with everything I've got to keep those funds available for that 8-year plan and for transportation in Oklahoma. So with that, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to serve and be a part of your group. And my door is always open.
Thank you, Chairman Russ, and thank you for being here with us this morning to recognize this. And I'll tell you, Chairman Russ is one of those guys that, sometimes I call him and he may be on the tractor or he may be under the swather working on it, or he may be working on his office job, but you will find no finer advocate for transportation or representative for his constituency than the chairman is. So we really appreciate you being with us this morning. Thank you for your support and your continued support, and we really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I would close out with a final thought on the bridge infrastructure issue, and then we'll continue the director's report with a couple of more items. But one thought is we've accomplished a tremendous amount of work. To achieve what Oklahoma has achieved across this short period of time is nothing short of phenomenal. But our work is not finished. As we stand here today, we've got more than 1,000 bridges out on our highway system that are 80 years old or older. We've got to continue to invest in our infrastructure for Oklahoma's future. So we're by no means done. We're by no means going to rest. We're going to redouble our efforts to continue to make progress on all fronts, whether you're talking about improving our pavements, whether you're talking about putting shoulders on our rural 2-lane highway systems, whether you're talking about safety improvements, or whether you're talking about continuing our investment in bridge infrastructure. We are not done. We will continue our effort and we will continue to make progress for our good. Mr. Chairman, I'd love to turn it back over to the commission and give you gentlemen the opportunity to make a few comments if you choose to.
Yes, I would like to say, Tim, a special thank you to you for today's presentation. Thank you for all of our guests that have made these victories possible. Thank you for Oklahoma. This has been the nicest commission meeting I've been to, and I'm really appreciative of all the efforts of the department to make this a special day. Any other comments?
I'd just like to say this, Commissioner Alexander, it's very good to see Commissioner Secretary Ridley, and I really appreciate the direction he gave me when I started in that. And as you all noticed, he had all the executive committee that worked around him that retired, so he must have wore them all out, I think, getting these bridges fixed. And thank you, Secretary Gatz, and all the hard work from everybody, from all of the employees up, you guys have done a great job. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Are there any questions from other commissioners before we?
I'd just like to say thank you, Chairman, to the secretary and to all the people who worked so hard to get this to number 9. I basically also thank you because I'm a user of them roads and bridges, and they support a lot of people in my company, and I'd like to say thank you for the great job they've did so we can continue moving America's freight across these highways.
Mr. Chairman, congratulations to ODOT and congratulations to Oklahoma. It's a great day for us. To continue with the director's report, touch on a couple of more items. We've got, really appreciate your award this morning of a project on Interstate 44 and US 75 in Tulsa. That contract is a major improvement at Interstate 44 and the US 75 interchange in Tulsa. Contract is about a $90 million contract. We want to give everybody a heads up and ask the folks that are going to be traveling that route for their patience. It is going to be a significant construction project and it will have a major impact on traffic. So we look forward to getting that project going. It addresses one of our oldest sections of interstate on Interstate 44 there west of the Arkansas River, built back in the 1950s. So project was made possible by a federal grant from Infra, and certainly we look forward to getting that project started and more importantly completed as the first phase in a multi-phase project to improve that interchange. In the Oklahoma City area, I'd point out that we've got three major projects that begin this week. The first is the replacement of 6 bridges on I-40 at Crutcho Creek, Southeast 15th Street, and Sooner Road. And that'll affect the I-40 corridor in Dale City and Midwest City, especially some of the Tinker Air Force Base traffic. And that's going to be a very difficult project to administer. We will do our best to make sure that we minimize traffic disruptions to the extent we can, but it is going to be a major construction project. 2 are going to affect our west and southwest in Oklahoma City, which will include Interstate 44 south of I-40 and through the State Highway 152 Airport Road ramps. That project is going to get started this week and will be bridge rehabilitation and pavement rehabilitation. And then we've got another project on I-40 West at Frisco Road. That's a partnership project that was awarded and is a partnership with the city of Yukon, but that will go under construction this week also. On the transportation modernization front, we continue to make good progress. Our consultant Guidehouse has worked with agency representatives and we've completed vision and guiding principles development. We've conducted some additional outreach with question and answer sessions, and we are getting focused now on a more in-depth data collection and development of some recommendations. That'll continue through about mid-April, and we'll develop some recommendations coming out of that. Guidehouse will stay on with us through spring and into summer to help us with change management for some of the shared services arrangements that are expected to come out of this initiative across the transportation cabinet between the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, the Turnpike Authority, and ODOT. So we look forward to that continuing. On the COVID-19 front, the department to this point has experienced about 44 cases in our employee ranks out of about 2,400 employees. Our employees continue to do a phenomenal job in conducting themselves and working hard to keep each other safe and healthy first. And we're pleased to report that, again, COVID, thanks to our employees, is having what I'd call a manageable effect on our operations. Our heart goes out to anybody that's affected by COVID, but our folks are really doing a tremendous job in their efforts to keep each other safe. And in closing, Mr. Chairman, I would say we are continuing our work on rebalancing the 8-year construction work plan. We are at the end of our federal highway bill. It expires at the end of this month. We are anxiously watching what's going to happen in Congress. We expect an extension act of some type to be developed and brought forward. Optimistically, that may include some additional revenues and maybe a higher funding level at the point that the Congress is finished with their work around the act itself and then around putting together a budget. So we want to make sure that we monitor that closely, and due to that uncertainty, we're going to delay finalizing our work plan just a little bit, and our likely target to bring that back to you for your approval will be the December commission meeting. And what we're really working towards is make sure that we account for any changes in the federal funding level, and then that we have a good opportunity to sit down with each of you and walk you through our investment strategy that's going to be included. So just wanted to give you that little bit of an update this morning. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. And congratulations to each of you on being top 10 in bridge infrastructure.
Are there any questions? Before I ask for adjournment vote, my note here says to make sure we had a audio feed was uninterrupted. Sherry, do you know if we've had any interruptions that's affected?
I'd like to report that ODOT has been monitoring the public video and audio connection throughout this meeting, and it's been reported to me that the public video and audio connection has been maintained throughout this meeting.
With that information, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion by Dyson.
Second?
Second by Peterson.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Miller, yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Mr. McCowan,
John, yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge,
LaForge, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
We're adjourned.